Hello everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending upon when you are watching this video lecture. In the earlier session we discussed some of the MCQs related to chapter 3, that is the theory of production and the theory of cost. Now let us continue the discussion on remaining MCQs in the ICI material, starting with the question number 43. Which of the following statements is true? It is asking. First one says, the services of a doctor are considered as production. Definitely yes, that is true. Man can create matter. No, usually we cannot create the matter, we can only convert one form of matter into another form. So B is not true. Services of housewife are considered as production. Definitely not. So that is not true. When man creates a table, he creates matter. Once again, no, that is not correct. So service of doctor can be considered as production, though it is not a tangible production. As we already discussed, goods and services both are considered as production. Hence, question number 43, answer would be A. Then question number 44. Which of the following is a function of an entrepreneur? Initiating a business enterprise? Yes. Risk bearing? Yes. Innovating? Yes. So naturally, all of the above. So 44th question, answer will be D, Delhi. Then 45th question says, in describing a given production technology, what is short run? When can we say it is a short run? Are we talking about 6 months, 5 years, as long as all inputs are fixed? No. Definitely as long as at least one input is fixed, that's what we can call it as short run. So 45th question also, answer will be D, Delhi. 46th question, if decreasing returns to scale are present, decreasing returns to scale are present, and if all inputs are increased by 10%, output will also increase, no doubt. But it will increase by less than 10% because of decreasing returns to scale. So the change in the output will be less than the change in the input. And where is that? First option says output will decrease. Definitely not. If output will exactly increase by 10%, then we cannot call it as decreasing returns to scale. We have to call it as constant returns to scale. Output will increase by less than 10% when it is called decreasing returns to scale. So 46th question, correct answer will be C. D is about increasing returns, not decreasing returns. So correct answer is C for question number 46. Then question number 47. The production function is a relationship between a given combination of inputs and naturally the highest resulting output from that. That's what is production function all about. That's what is the definition of production function itself. What is the given combination of inputs at which the highest possible output, the best possible output can be generated? That is explained by production function. So correct answer for 47th question will be B, Bangalore. Question number 48. If the marginal product of labor is below the average product of labor, so understand this once again, marginal product is whatever labor or any factor, doesn't matter. Main point focus should be on the technical aspect. That is, marginal product is below the average product. Then what? What can we say? Can we say the marginal product is negative? No, we cannot say that. Definitely we cannot say that. Yes, it could be negative also, but it must be true? No. Not possible. Marginal product could be negative when it is below the average product, but not necessarily it is negative always. Marginal product of labor is 0. No, we cannot say that. Average product of labor is falling. Definitely yes. So 48th question answer will be C. Once again, if you draw the graph and understand the graph well, you will be able to easily identify the answers always. when we have the question says marginal product is below the average product, that means it is talking about this region where the marginal product is below the average product. So what is happening? Definitely average product is definitely falling, but we cannot say that marginal product is zero, we cannot say that marginal product is negative, not necessarily. That is why we can say average product is falling definitely. That is what is happening, because first of all the average product falls when the marginal product is equal to average product, and afterwards marginal product is below average product. So when marginal product is below average product, automatically the average product is always falling. So correct answer for 48th question would be C. Then 49th question. The average product of labor is maximized when the marginal product of labor, naturally when it is equal to the average product. So when marginal product is equal to the average product, then only the average product will be maximum. So A is the correct answer. Direct question. Then question number 50. The law of variable proportions is drawn under all of the assumptions mentioned below except one. So law of variable proportions, when we assume, what is the major assumption there? All the assumptions are there which are part of it except one. First one says the technology is changing. That itself is wrong. Why? Because we assume that the technology is constant. So if you say technology is changing, that is not true. That is not an assumption under the law of variable proportions, because under the law of variable proportions the assumption is that the technology is constant. So A is not a correct assumption for the law of variable proportions. Just for understanding, B, C, D, are the correct assumptions. There must be some inputs whose quantity is kept fixed. Yes. We consider only physical inputs and not economically profitability. So because we are not talking monetary terms, yes. Technology is given and stable, yes. Technology is changing is not a correct assumption. So 50th question, correct answer is A, since it is wrong assumption. Then question number 51. What is a production function? Relationship between physical inputs and physical output? Definitely yes. That's what is a production function. Then let us also look at BCD, relationship between fixed factors and variable factors. No, that is not what we are talking in production function. Production function is about inputs and outputs, not about inputs and inputs. And relationship between a factor of production and utility. Utility has nothing to do with production function, so that is absolutely nonsensical statement. Relationship between quantity of output and time taken to produce. No, we are not talking about that. So it is not about other factors. It is basically a function of relationship between physical inputs and physical output. Clear? Direct answer. Question number 51 is A. 52. The loss of production does not include which one? First one says returns to scale. It is definitely one of the long run loss of production. Law of diminishing returns to a factor. Yes, it is a short run production function. Law of variable proportions. Yes, it is also a short run production function. Least cost combination of factors. No, cost has nothing to do with production. So production is always a quantitative relationship but not a monetary relationship. And when the answer says cost, we have to identify, no, it is not related to the loss of production. So 52nd question, correct answer will be D, Delhi. Then 53rd question. What is an isoquant? Once again a direct question it will be. You have to read the options carefully. All the alternative combinations of two inputs that can be produced by using a given set of output. That statement itself is rubbish. Inputs will not be produced. Inputs will be used for producing output. So A sentence itself is wrong. B. All the alternative combinations of two products among which a producer is indifferent because they yield same profit. No. Again, isoquant has nothing to do with money. So profit is never the criteria in that. So B is wrong. C says all the alternative combinations of two inputs that yield the same total product. Yes. That is what is correct answer. Both B and C is also not correct, because we are talking about quantities here, not about money. So the word profit here is indicating a wrong thing. So B is never a correct answer. D also is not a correct answer. C only is the correct answer for question number 53. All alternative combinations of two inputs that yield the same total output or total product is what is called isoquant. That is question number 53. Then question number 54. Economies of scale exist because a firm increases its size in the long run. Then what happens? Read them carefully. Labor and management can specialize in their activities more. Yes, that is true. As larger input buyer, the firm can get finance at lower cost and purchase inputs at lower per cost unit. That is also true. The firm can afford to employ more sophisticated technology in production. That is also true. All of them are economies only. So naturally the correct answer for question number 54 will be D, Delhi. All of them are economies of scale in the long run. Then question number 55. The production function is what? Once again, it is the relationship between the quantity of inputs used and the resulting quantity of product, that is output. Definitely yes, but we cannot jump to answer it because there is all of the above, so we have to read others also. B tells us the maximum attainable output from a given combination of inputs. Yes, that is also a production function. It expresses the technological relationship between the inputs and output of a product. Yes, that is production function. So definitely once again for question number 55, correct answer would be D, Delhi. Then question number 56. The production process described below exhibits what? Look at the table carefully. Only one question. Number of workers increased from 0, 1, 2, 3 and output also increased from 0 to 23, then 40, then 50. So what is the marginal product here? If we see that, we have to first of all identify what is the marginal product or marginal output for the first unit of input, 23. Then from 23 the marginal output has shifted to 17. Then it has become 10. So when the marginal product is decreasing, which of the following statements is representing that tendency? That's what we should identify. Let us do that. First one says constant marginal product. Answer is no, wrong. Diminishing marginal product, yes, that's what it is showing exactly. So B is the correct answer. Increasing returns to scale and all is long term. This is short term, so there is no relation. Increasing marginal product, is it happening? No. 23 to 17 to 10, it is diminishing marginal product. So answer is B, Bombay, for question number 56. Question number 57. Which of the following is a variable cost in the short run? Variable cost. Rent, is it variable? No. Wages paid to the factory labor is variable. Materials and wages are variable. Interest payments, no, not variable. Payment of the lease for the factory equipment is also not variable. So out of the four, which is variable cost, we can say wages paid to the factory labor, that is B, Bombay. Correct answer for question number 57. Then question number 58. The efficient scale of production is the quantity of output that minimizes which cost? Our ultimate objective is always the average total cost. Average fixed cost, average variable cost, marginal cost. No, those are not the ultimate objectives. Average total cost should be minimum. That is what is the perfect scale of production or efficient scale of production, we can say. It is that quantity of output where the average total cost is minimum. So direct answer, question number 58, B, Bombay is the correct answer. Then question number 59. In the short run, the firm's product curve shows that A says the total product begins to decrease when average product begins to decrease but continues to increase at a decreasing rate. First of all, it says total product begins to decrease. That itself is wrong. When average product begins to decrease, still the total product keeps on increasing. Once again, you have to refer to the graph. When average product started declining, total product is not declining. So A is wrong. B says when marginal product is equal to average product is decreasing, but it's highest. So when marginal product is equal to the average average product is decreasing. Till that time it was not decreasing. It was started decreasing later on. So we cannot say average product is already decreasing. But it is at its highest, yes, that is true. When marginal product is equal to average product is at its highest, no doubt. But it is not decreasing already. It starts decreasing then only. So you cannot say it is decreasing. So B is not correct option. C says when the marginal product curve cuts the average product curve from the below. First of all, marginal product curve cuts the average product from the above. It will not cut from below. That itself is nonsense. So C is correct, not a correct answer. D says in stage 2, total product increases at a diminishing rate and reaches the maximum at the end of this stage. Exactly. That's what happens, right? In stage 2, where it started, here it started, total product still increases, but at a diminishing rate and reaches its maximum H point at the end of stage 2. Exactly, that's what the graph shows us, which means D is the correct answer for question number 59, Delhi. Then question number 60. A fixed input means what? Again, read the statements carefully. A fixed input. Is it that input whose quantity can be quickly changed in the short run? Definitely not. So there itself it is gone. B says that input whose quantity cannot be quickly changed in the short run in response to the desire of the company to change its production. Yes, that is what is a fixed input, which cannot be changed in the short run. C says whose quantities can be easily changed. No, they cannot be. D says input whose demand can be easily changed. It cannot be. That is why it is fixed. Fixed means what? Which cannot be quickly or easily be changed in response to whatever the desire of the company to increase its production. Fixed quantity of input cannot be changed. That is why it is fixed. So correct answer for question number 60 would be B, Bombay. 61 direct question. Average product means what? Total product divided by the number of units of variable input. Where is it? C. Directly question number 61. C is the correct answer. Question number 62. Which of the following statements is true? He is asking. True. Read them carefully. After the inflection point of the production function, a greater use of the variable input induces a reduction in the marginal product. Yes, that is inflection point we are talking about. That is a point of inflection. Exactly, if you remember and match it to the marginal product, which is this. After this point, though you increase the input, marginal product keeps on decreasing only. So that statement is correct. After the inflection point, the marginal product decreases. B says, before reaching the inevitable point of decreasing marginal returns, the quantity of output obtained can increase at an increasing rate. Yes, before reaching this stage, the quantity of output keeps on increasing at an increasing rate only. So before reaching the inflection point or the inevitable point of decreasing marginal returns, definitely the quantity of output can increase at increasing rate. So B is also correct. So naturally the answer should be all of the above, but just for confirmation, let us look at C also. That should be also correct. The first stage corresponds to the range in which the AP is increasing, average product, as a result of utilizing increasing quantities of variable inputs. In the first stage, is AP increasing or not? Exactly yes, because AP reached the peak at the end of the first stage. So in the entire first stage, the average product has been increasing. So definitely that is also a correct statement. So all of the above are correct. So 62nd question, correct answer will be D, Delhi. Then marginal product mathematically is the slope of what? See, marginal is always, not only product. Whenever we say marginal, it is always the slope of total. Always. So naturally marginal product is also the slope of total product curve. That is question number 63, A answer. Then question number 64. Suppose the first 4 units of a variable input generate corresponding total inputs of 200, 350, 450 and 500. The marginal product of the third unit of input. Third is asking. So first input 200, second input 150, third input 100 is the marginal product. That's what is asking. So answer for question number 64 will be B. For that, you need to find out how much is the marginal product for introduction of each input. First unit 200, second unit 150, that is 350 minus 200. And then third input 450 minus 350. 450 minus 350 is 100. That is the correct answer. B, Bombay is the correct answer for question number 64. Then question number 65. Which of the following statements is false? False. In respect of fixed cost of a firm. Fixed cost is asking. We need a false statement, by the way. So read the options very carefully, such type of questions. A says, as the fixed inputs for a firm cannot be changed in the short run, the total fixed costs are constant except when prices of the fixed inputs change. That is true. Why? Because the fixed inputs are not possible to be changed in the short run. Total fixed costs are constant in the short run, right? Naturally, yes. Okay, they may change only not because of increased inputs, because of increased prices of inputs. That is possible. So this is a true statement. Fixed inputs cannot be changed in the short run. Total fixed costs are constant because of that. That is a true statement. So correct, not a correct answer. We need a false statement. Then B says, total fixed costs continue to exist even when production is stopped in the short run. Yes, that is correct. But they exist in the long run even when production is not stopped. First of all, when we say the total fixed cost is there, fixed itself is a short run concept. They do not exist in the long run. Production stopped, not stopped, done, not done, doesn't matter. So fixed cost itself is a short term concept. In the long run, every cost is variable cost. So naturally that statement is not having any sense. Why? Because it says the fixed cost exists in the long run also. They will not. So B is a false statement. Then naturally C and D should be correct statements. Let us check that. Total fixed cost can be defined as the total sum of costs of all the fixed inputs associated with the production in the short run. Yes, that's what total fixed costs are. And in a short run, the firm's fixed cost cannot be escaped even when the production is stopped. Yes, that is also true. So A, C, D are true. B, Bombay is the only wrong statement. So that is why the correct answer for question number 65 will be B, Bombay. Then question number 66. Diminishing marginal returns for the first 4 units of a variable input is exhibited by the total product sequence. Which one? Diminishing marginal returns we want. Here, first, if you look at A, that is constant returns, right? No diminishing returns. Then B, what is the marginal return? You have to check that. For marginal product, you have to check that. That means 50 to 110. That comes to 60, right? Then 60, 110 to 180, that comes to 70. 180 to 260, that is 80. So what is the marginal product here? Simply speaking, what is the marginal product in the first case? 0, 0, 0. No increase in the marginal product at all. Second case, B, 50 to 110, 60, 110 to 180, 70, 180 to 260, 80. So that is a good thing, right? Not a bad thing. It is increasing marginal returns, not a decreasing return. So B cannot be the correct answer. Now look at C, 50 to 100, marginal product is 50, 100 to 150, marginal product is still 50, 150 to 200, again 50. So this is also not a diminishing marginal return. So naturally the answer should be D. Look at the marginal product here one by one sequentially. 50 to 90 means 40, then 19 to 120 means 30, 120 to 140 means 20. So what is happening? From 40 to 30 to 20, the marginal product was decreasing, which means that is a stage of diminishing marginal returns. That is why the correct answer here will be D, Delhi, for question number 66. Then question number 67. Read the diagram carefully. Using that diagram, you have to answer the question given below it. First of all, what is this diagram? That we should identify. X-axis, there is some input factor, labor, naturally a variable factor. Y-axis, there is output. So we are talking about a law of variable proportions, particularly total product line. This is not marginal, not average. Total product curve is given in this particular graph. You have to interpret the graph carefully. When 1 unit is introduced, of course, question will be different. I'm just trying to explain the graph interpretation in any question. Any number of questions can be framed from the same diagram. When 1 unit of input happened, the total product was 6. When 1 more unit of input has been introduced, total product became 14. That means how much is the marginal product? Marginal product is, 8. 6 to 14, 8. Then 1 more unit is inputted 3. Total product increased to 20. That means what is the marginal product? 14 to 20, 6. Then 1 more unit introduced 4. Total product became 24. From 20 to 24, marginal product is 4. 1 more unit is introduced. Then the total product is 25. So the marginal product is only 1. 1 more further product is introduced. The total output again became 20. So marginal product is from 25 to 20 minus 5. And we know this is the phase where the marginal product will turn negative. Later on it will become negative. So here it has turned negative. So what is the marginal product for the 6th unit of input? Minus 5. Like this, from the diagram we should be able to interpret it. And average product also can be found out like this. What is the average product? Let us say if the question says for 4 units of input, it will be 24 total divided by 4, that is 6, like that. For example, if the question says what is the average product for 6 units of input, that will be 20 divided by 6, somewhere around, say 3.33, like that. Any question can be asked from these graphs. You should be able to identify and interpret the graphs carefully. But here there is only one question. Let us say what is that? The marginal physical product of the third unit of labor is dash. The marginal product of the dash labor is negative. So the marginal physical product of the third unit of labor is how much? Third unit already we calculated. From first to 0 to 1 it was 6, 1 to 2 it was, 0 to 1 it was 6, then 1 to 2 it was 8. So 6 also is there, by the way, starting with 0. What is the marginal product of 1 unit? 6. Second unit 6 to 14, that is 8. Third unit once again is 6. So he is asking this. So what is the marginal product? 6. But unfortunately all are having 6. We don't need to actually check that also. All are having 6 only. But then the second part of the bit says MP of the dash labor is negative. Which labor is negative? Where it has marginal product turned negative. The 6th unit of labor has become negative. So correct answer naturally would be D. 6th and 6th. 6th unit of labor has negative marginal product. So question number 67, the correct answer would be D, Delhi. That is observed from the, that can be observed from the graph itself. For the third unit, the marginal product is 6, and in the 6th unit it became negative. So answer is 6 and 6th. D, Delhi is correct answer for question number 67. Then question number 68. In the third stage of 3 stages of production, what happens? A says the marginal product has a positive slope. No sir, no, definitely not. B says marginal product curve lies completely below the average product curve. Definitely yes. Marginal product will be lesser than the average product completely, always. Throughout the third stage it will happen. So B is the correct answer. C says total product increases. No, that is wrong. D says marginal product is positive. That is wrong. So only correct answer is B. Marginal product curve lies completely below the average product curve. So correct answer for question number 68 would be B, Bombay. Then question number 69. When marginal costs are below the average total costs. Now it is cost related. Once again, I have to refer to the cost curves. You should know them. You cannot have them ready-made in the exam. So you should know how to draw them. That is why you should practice them. When marginal costs are below the average total cost, what is happening to the average fixed costs? He is saying average fixed costs are rising. No, definitely average fixed cost will always fall. How can they rise? Not possible. Average total costs are falling? Definitely yes. When the marginal costs are below the average total cost, that is the phase we are talking about, below this point. Before this point, marginal cost is less than average total cost. What is happening to the average total cost till that point? Decreasing. That's what this says. Average total costs are falling. So correct answer is B, Bombay. Technical question, direct question. Question number 70. A firm's long run average total cost curve is, A says, identical to its long run marginal cost curve? No. Marginal itself is a short term concept. You cannot mix marginal to long run. So A is wrong. It is also the long run supply curve because it explains the relationship between the price and the quantity supplied. No sir, there is no word called price when it comes to cost curves. So absolutely nonsensical statement. Then point C says, in fact the average total cost curve is the optimal plant in the short run as it tries to produce at least cost. But it is not in the short run. It is in the long run. So C is also not correct. It is telling it is in the short run. No, it is not. We started with the question long run cost curve. So what is it? It is tangent to all the curves of short run average total cost. Yes, it is tangential. That is what is long run average total cost curve, which means correct answer for question number 70 would be D, Delhi. Then question number 71. In the long run, if a very small factory were to expand its scale of operations, it is likely that it would initially experience what? Likely is always a open-ended question. Ideally, such type of questions should not occur. But only from a theoretical point of view, when we say initially what happens is economies of scale will happen. After some time, diseconomies of scale will happen. In other words, from a production point of view, there will be increasing returns to scale, then there will be constant returns to scale, then there will be decreasing returns to scale. So when there is increasing return to scale in the initial period, that is what is economies of scale. So question number 71, answer can be C. Then question number 72. A firm's long run average total cost curve. Once again, long run average total cost curve is asking. It says, A says in this, identical to its long run marginal cost curve. It's actually the repeat question, I think. Same question, same points are given. No. So A, B, C points are earlier, same as question number 70. D point, look at that, tangent to all short run average total cost curves, not the curves, and represents the lowest average total cost for producing each level of output. Yes, it will tell us how much is the average total cost for each level of output. That's what the long run average total cost curve says. So question number 72, answer is D, Delhi. Then question number 73. Which of the following statement describes the increasing returns to scale? Increasing we have to look at. Doubling of all inputs leads to doubling of the output. So inputs doubled, output also doubled. That's constant returns to scale. How can it be increasing? B says increasing the inputs by 50%, leading to 25% increase in output only. That is not increasing returns to scale, that is diminishing returns to scale. Increasing the inputs by 1/4 leads to an increase in output of 1/3. This is where you have to be a little bit careful also. 1/4 is 25%, 1/3 is 33.33%. So inputs increased by a lesser amount. 1/4 is a smaller number than 1/3. That we should know. Means inputs increased by a smaller number, but output increased by a bigger number. That is what is increasing returns to scale. So correct answer is C. 1/4 is 25%. 1/3 means 33.33%, which is more than 25%. That happens when there are increasing returns to scale only. So the correct answer for question number 73 will be C. Then 74th question, the marginal cost for a firm producing the 9th unit of output is 20 rupees. So marginal cost for producing the 9th unit of output is 20 rupees. Average cost at the same level of output is 15 rupees. Now what is saying is not asking any calculation. Marginal cost and average cost both are falling. Marginal cost, average cost both are rising. Marginal cost is rising, average cost is falling, or it is impossible to tell whether they are rising or falling. Don't go for a D because it is easiest one. You cannot say always it is impossible and all. Let us see what is that. See, marginal cost we are talking. Marginal cost is 20 given at a particular level, whatever it is. Average cost is 15 only. So when marginal cost is more than average cost, marginal cost is above the average cost, what happens? Already the marginal cost has cut the average cost. Then only the marginal cost will be more than average cost, right? Then what happens? Both marginal cost and average cost will be rising because already the marginal cost has cut the average cost curve. So beyond that, marginal cost also, average cost also, both will be rising. So the correct answer for 74th question will be B, Bombay. You have to once again look at this. What is the question? Marginal cost is more than average cost. Where it will happen? It will happen in this region. In this region, what is happening? Marginal cost is also rising, average cost is also rising. Both are rising. So B, Bombay is the correct answer for question number 74. Then question number 75. Implicit costs can be defined as what? Money payments made. Payment is not implicit. The moment you look at this, payment, not implicit. So naturally only one option will be B. Why? Because the money not paid out to the owners of the firm for the self-owned factors employed in a business and therefore not entered into the books of accounts. Perfect definition for implicit costs. Implicit costs are not payments. Not payments. So B automatically will be the correct answer. If you identify the word payments in A, C, D, automatically B will emerge to be the correct answer. And the statement is perfect definition of implicit cost. So 75th question, correct answer will be B, Bombay. Then question number 76. Once again, this type of questions should not have been asked, but it is there. The most important function of an entrepreneur. Which is important, most important, less important? How do we define that? So I would say better to skip this question, because definitely entrepreneur has to bear the sense of responsibility. The responsibility is the word used. Actually it should be risk. So this B doesn't look a very good thing. Finance, is it the most important function of the entrepreneur? That will be taken care definitely, but that is not the most important function. Earning profit is not. So just by looking at the other options eliminated, A looks like a correct option, that is to innovate. One of the functions of the entrepreneur is to innovate new things. So 76th question, A can be called as a correct answer, but still it's a very open-ended type of question. So by eliminating which is less appropriate only, we can come out with a correct answer. Not a technical question, a very open-ended generic question. Questions can be asked like that. We are not the ones to stop ICAI from asking such questions. Only we have to come out with some solution which gives better option out of all. That's it. Then question number 77. Economic costs of production differ from accounting cost of production because what? 4 options are there. You have to read each of them carefully. Economic costs include expenditure for hired resources while accounting costs do not. No. Economic costs do not include expenses for hired resources. They will include. Accounting costs also will include. So A cannot be the correct answer. Accounting costs include opportunity cost. That itself gone. Accounting costs will never include opportunity cost. C says accounting costs include expenditure for hired resources while economic costs do not. Economic cost also will include hired resources expenditure, which is nothing but explicit cost. So A, B, C cannot be the correct answers. D is the correct answer naturally. Economic costs add the opportunity cost of a firm which uses its own resources. That is economic cost. So accounting costs will only include explicit cost. Economic costs will include explicit as well as implicit costs. Hence, Correct answer for question number 77 could be D, Delhi. Then once again cost curves are given. In figure below, the possible reason why, reason is asking, why the average variable cost curve approaches the average total cost curve as the output rises. Why average variable cost curve is telling not necessarily always happens. Here it is happening like that. It's possible also to happen like that. Average variable cost was very far from average total cost. But slowly what is happening? The gap between them is reducing. Why is it happening? He is telling. Naturally it happens because the average fixed cost falls because of that. So look at this options given here. A says fixed costs are falling while total costs are rising at rising output. Fixed costs are falling, total costs are rising at rising output. The total costs are rising definitely. Fixed costs are not falling. Read the answer carefully. Average fixed cost is falling. Fixed cost will not fall. Fixed cost will remain constant. So A is wrong. Second one says total costs are rising and average costs are also rising. Which average costs are rising? Total costs are rising definitely. Average variable cost and average fixed cost, both will not rise. So average costs are not possible to be called as rising. So the closeness between the average total cost and average variable cost is not because of the total costs which are rising. That cannot be the reason for it. Marginal costs are above average variable cost as the output rises. Yes, marginal costs are above the average variable cost. But that is not the reason once again between the closeness of ATC and AVC. It is happening because the average fixed costs are falling as the output is rising. When average fixed cost keeps on falling, then the difference or the amount of difference between average total cost and average variable cost will keep on decreasing. That's what is the major reason why average total cost and average variable cost will be slowly approaching closer to each other because of the average fixed cost falling. Though that line is not given in this graph, we should know that already. That is question number 78, where the average variable cost is becoming closer and closer to the average total cost because of average fixed costs falling. Always average fixed cost keeps on falling. And because of that, average total cost and average variable cost will become closer and closer. So that is D, Delhi correct answer for question number 78. Question number 79. Marginal cost changes due to changes in what? Naturally the changes in quantity of output. Marginal cost changes due to changes in quantity of output, of course, and total cost also is there, but is asking about due to which, due to what reason the marginal cost changes. Because the relationship is closely with the variable cost. We can say because of changes in the variable cost, the marginal cost is also changing. Of course, once again, A also is correct, D is also reasonably correct. But those are not causes. The cause is because of variable cost changing, the marginal cost also is changing. So the relation is directly with marginal cost and variable cost. So the answer for 79th question can be called as C. Then question number 80. Which of the following statements is correct? Corrective statement we want. Fixed costs vary with change in output. No, absolutely wrong. If we add total variable cost and total fixed cost, we get average cost. No, we get total cost. That's all, not average cost. Marginal cost is the result of total cost divided by number of units produced. No, there will get average cost, not marginal cost. Total cost is obtained by adding up the fixed cost and total variable cost. Yes, definitely. So correct answer for 80th question is D, Delhi. Then question number 81. Which of the following statements is incorrect? Incorrect. Like this, any questions can be asked. A says the long run average cost curve is also called planning curve. Actually, that is correct. So it is not our answer. It is a correct statement. We need an incorrect statement. B says total revenue is equal to price per unit into number of units sold. Revenue is nothing but sales. Sales, how can you get? How many units sold multiplied with price? That is revenue. So that is also correct. Opportunity cost is also called alternative cost. It can be called because it is telling us the loss that anybody is bearing by not choosing the next best alternative. So it can be called as alternative cost also. Then the D says total revenue divided by the number of units sold will get marginal revenue. Actually, this question number 81 should not be here because it is related to revenue, not cost. This chapter is related to production and cost, but still, we know the concept of total and marginal already. So, we should identify, irrespective of whichever the word is used. Total divided by quantity is always average, not marginal. But this one says total divided by quantity is marginal. That is a false statement. So, it is incorrect statement. Means correct answer for us. That is question number 81. D. Delhi is the correct answer. And with that, we can conclude the discussion on MCQs related to chapter 3. So, chapter 3, as I already said, is one of the very important chapters. And chapter 2 and 3 put together, 5 economic theories. Theory of demand, theory of consumer behavior, theory of supply, theory of production, theory of cost. That is the core microeconomics, which is very important in the exam also. At least 30 marks, 35 marks can be expected from this out of 60 marks. And it can go up to 40 also sometimes. So, practice these questions well. More than that, first, before answering the questions, read the concepts and understand them very well. And never forget to draw the graphs while answering the questions. That will be the easiest way, rather than just trying to remember things. So, remembering only will not help. Having a graph on paper, even in the examination also, a rough graph just with a pencil on paper will give you better clarity for answering many questions in this chapter. So with that, we can conclude this chapter 3. And in the next sessions, we will discuss about some more areas of business economics. Till then, take care. Bye-bye. Thank you very much.